Welcome everyone to the Applied Information live stream today. I'm your host, Peter Ashley, and I'm joined by
Emily Stanecki. Welcome everyone.
And today we've got a very exciting show. We're going to be talking about a connected vehicle landscape. And we're going to talk about all the kind of technologies that you can do with connected vehicles, which is pretty exciting. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Emily, who's going to talk a little bit about the show program.
Yeah, I think just kind of what to expect, as Peter mentioned, an introduction to connected vehicles and really these smart cities. So smart city technology, what some locals are doing to kind of achieve that status. Peter's going to talk about how they're doing it, and we'll look at some video footage of what it actually looks like in real life. We're going to talk about the role of the Infrastructure Automotive Technology Laboratory and how private-led initiatives are playing a role in smart city technology development. We'll talk about 3 specific connected vehicle applications, so emergency vehicle preemption, pedestrian safety in school zones, and then we'll also talk about travel safely smartphone application, and then Peter will talk about the details of CV2X Direct versus CV2X Network, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So we're excited, should be a great show, and thanks for joining us today. So Peter, let's start with Baton Rouge. What are they doing? How are they achieving this smart city technology status?
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. And one of the things I do want to just say, this is the first time that we are streaming to LinkedIn Direct, because it's a new platform on LinkedIn that you can do. So just bear with us. If there are any problems or anything like that, there is another link on there. It should all be working, which is pretty exciting. And we're live streaming for the first time directly to YouTube as well. So the first thing, we talk about the city of Baton Rouge. And Baton Rouge, they're a large city that has gone in and put on quite a lot of infrastructure. They've got over 1,000 different connected vehicle devices hooked up there. And the main thing that they did was they wanted to do emergency vehicle preemption. So they implemented emergency vehicle preemption on roughly 450 traffic signals, as well as doing all of their school zones, over 200 school zones in the area. And they're also transitioning now to do connected vehicles as well. Now, they got funding from the Move BR movement. They got state funding, federal funding, and local funding to basically improve the infrastructure that they had. And it was all about addressing issues of congestion around the city and making all of their devices pedestrian friendly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about, this is a little picture over here of what their system looks like, where they've got, a huge number of devices. Now, what was quite interesting was how they also are using this platform for communication. So they've got roughly half of their intersections are on fiber, and the other half were not connected. So they're using the connected vehicle technology to actually provide wireless telematics to the intersections. So now all of them are online and available through their ATMS system as well, which is providing a huge amount of assistance. And also it means all of their intersections are now connected to their ATMS.now platform. What was really interesting was there was an event that happened, Hurricane Ida, and they were following exactly what happens. And you can see all of these red marks over here. These are all traffic signals that had power failure and communication failures. And they utilized this system to help diagnose the areas that they needed to go out. Because you can see the areas like this one, where there's an intersection that's offline and there's an intersection that's online. And they utilized, because the system had remote monitoring and batteries and all the rest, they could see where they needed to spend more attention on to get those devices online. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and open up a video that will show us what Baton Rouge has been doing.
Our parish is unique because of its people. We have people from all over the world, but we still have our Louisiana culture that makes us Baton Rouge.
East Baton Rouge Parish is a transportation hub for a variety of places, including on the Mississippi River, where we have ships and ports, but also shipping from all over the country along I-10 and I-12 corridor.
For a city of our size, we're unique in the way that we approach new technologies, and we're always looking out for new and better systems and better ways to service the public and bring every little bit of efficiency out of the traffic signals and the systems that we have.
Well, since getting the cellular communications as part of the AI platform, we have been able to communicate with almost our entire signal system. That has changed the game for us in a lot of ways. One of the ways is that when there is an issue, we can respond rapidly.
Our new system communicates quickly to us, and we're able to change things as we need to. Sometimes children get out of school early, maybe because of weather or emergencies, and we're able to change that system as we need to.
We can fix problems from here on demand.
When we first saw it, it was literally just a black box. Like, you could do all kinds of things with this black box. Then it's grown into this great product that we are so happy to have.
We had help from AI and Temple extensive help from Temple with the installation process, and AI was constantly available to help us configure the devices.
It's very important to the Baton Rouge Fire Department. We've got that preemption system that allows the traffic signals to change to green in order for us to better make it through the intersection more safely and get us to the coast quicker.
Technology is extremely important, especially when we think about emergency situations. And with the implementation of light synchronization, our EMS vehicles, fire trucks, law enforcement can easily go through a light when needed, when it's an emergency, and it helps expedite the situation.
It allows us to include and work on connected vehicles. As connected vehicles become more prevalent, this has created a way that we can cater to that need, and it's all of just a part of the AI platform.
We like the connected vehicle feature because it lets the public know that we've got a truck that's en route to a call on a particular route that we're on, so they're on the lookout for it.
We've always been interested in looking towards the future and trying to prepare for all of the new technological advances that are coming. We're in a golden age of new advances.
I've been around a long time, 35 years working with the city, and it's amazing to me what transition is taking place in technology. Certainly, I believe it's going to be a big plus to us, but more importantly for the citizens. I look forward to the challenges and the pluses that we're going to have in the future.
Yeah, it's amazing what these cities are doing, and especially when that forward-thinking cities like the city of Baton Rouge are really trying to save the lives of the people for the emergency situations, when there's an emergency happening, and also the school children.
Right. And they're just such a great example. I love listening to each person tell their version of the story and how the technology has impacted, the city. And we're seeing that with several, other partners that we have. And it's great that we have the connected vehicle technology available now. A key part, you hear them tell the stories of all the different players in the game. What we've created here, and I think this kind of transitions us into talking about the IATL. So the Infrastructure Automotive Technology Laboratory, that's where Peter and I are actually live filming from today. So it's a space that was created and it's private sector led. It's open to, it was really created for auto, makers and cities and locals to come and work together and partner to see how this technology could be used, but it's open to everyone. We've created a space where we've got every traffic controller in the United States right here behind us. We're able to take all of these technologies that we're talking about to test them here in the lab. And even more importantly, we're here in the city of Alpharetta, where they have 120 and 130 connected vehicle intersections just outside these doors. So not only do we test it and see it and play with it, but we get out in the traffic, we drive it, and we get to see it and experience it in real life. So it's just
and the great thing with that is we saw a gap in the market that what happened was you got all of these auto manufacturers that are looking at implementing it in their vehicles, but I mean, we in the traffic industry know that every single traffic signal is different. So having all of this infrastructure behind us for them to come test their vehicles, how does my vehicle work within a Conlight controller, with a Siemens controller, with an Interlight controller? And then once they've figured out that, then they can go out and drive along the streets and then do other applications like school zones, pedestrian crosswalks, emergency vehicles. So there's a lot of stuff. And there's now roughly about 50 different members as part of the IATL, which is a nonprofit organization, which brings all of these groups together with car manufacturers, traffic signal manufacturers, even autonomous shuttles. And so all of these people are here testing and making sure everything works in the street.
Yeah, we've created what we would call a true dynamic testing environment, and we invite and welcome everybody to come be a part of that. So, feel free to chat us or reach out and we'll help you get connected or figure out how to become a part of our alliance. The real goal is to progress this connected vehicle technology, and we know lots of folks are all working to do that. So we'd love to create the space where we can bring them here. So I think we've got a video that's that's going to talk a little bit more about the IATL and then introduce our first real connected vehicle application that we're going to focus on, emergency vehicle preemption.
Great, thanks, Emily. We're gonna jump into that right now.
Get ready for green.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Automotive Technology Laboratory. I'm Emily Stanecki, and I'll be your guide through the world of connected vehicle technology. We're sitting here in the lab where we're dedicated to making connected vehicles work not only today, but for our future. The IATL is the first facility where automakers and the transportation infrastructure are working together to accelerate the advancement of connected vehicle applications. Located in Alpharetta, Georgia, the IATL is equipped with every traffic controller in use in the United States today. Surrounding the IATL is a real-world connected vehicle environment on the streets of Alpharetta with more than 150 connected traffic signals, including CV2X. Connected vehicle applications being shown are emergency vehicle preemption, school zone and school bus safety, and the Travel Safely connected vehicle smartphone app. Now let's take a look at some of these applications in real life today. Everybody likes green lights, but what if they could also save lives? We're using connected vehicle technology to get emergency responders to the scene more quickly and more safely. Let's take a look at just how we're doing that.
The traffic preemption system here in Alpharetta has been installed on all of our traffic lights here locally and on all of our fire apparatus. We have a transmitter on our apparatus which allows us to basically get a green light as we're responding on incidents throughout the city. The preemption system changes the light directly in front of them, but it also starts staging the other lights ahead of them so that traffic flows better. We've transitioned from an older system that was infrared or line of sight to a newer system that's GPS based, and it seems to be working great. When you're gaining 10 to 12 seconds per traffic light on average, it really has an impact on the response time.
In a fire situation, 1 minute, the fire can spread throughout the rest of the building, whereas if we got there 90 seconds faster, we can contain it into a smaller portion of the house, cause less damage, less risk of life and injury and property. So when we turn the truck on, it usually takes us 10 to 15 seconds to get right to this light over here. And like I said earlier, it's a very busy road, Newport Ave, kind of goes all throughout Quincy from the one highway exit to the next. And like I said, it's really hard for anyone coming north or south to see us coming out of this way. Even if our sirens are on, these walls kind of block the noise. So if the red light is there for them, then we don't have to be too concerned. We always have to stop because people are known to run red lights, but it is safer just to have the system making sure that we can make that turn.
Yeah, the first year, it has been a huge improvement from where we were at, the system we were using. In the old system, part of our time was taken up every month. We would have to go do checks on the equipment and go look at it. And the fire department did that on top of the streets looking at their end. So that took up time for us. Getting out in the traffic, trying to do that took up time. Now we have the ability that traffic department, streets can look at the system and say everything's good, or they can call us to say, hey, we're seeing something. Have you guys noticed that you're having a problem at this intersection? So that's working great. Noticing that the calls, when they're going on calls now, that they can watch the lights change out in front of them. In the past, you had to be in a certain distance and line of sight to see that light change. Now it doesn't matter if you have traffic in front of you. If you're within that distance, the light's going to change. So no news is good news. When the crews aren't calling you to have a complaint on something, it's working good.
We've all got those intersections that we get to that are high traffic. Doesn't matter what time of day it is, it's high traffic. So what we can do is work with AI to build these customized paths, if you will, to allow that traffic to get clear. So, we might get there in the light screen, but if we have traffic, we can dig into the data, understand, okay, if we go to this traffic, 75% of the time, we know we're going to hit the next 2 intersections. Well, let's go ahead and clear those out beforehand. And so when we're getting there, that traffic, not only do we control the intersection, but the traffic's gone. By saving the time that we have, we're able to, you can look at it in the cost savings of, okay, if we need to put another fire station over here because of our response times, but now that we were able to, with the preemption system, cut those down, we don't necessarily need that fire station. And so we've looked at it kind of quantitatively that way as well from the city side, that, you can pretty much spend whatever you want to on a fire station, but, we're talking, let's just say $5 million for a fire station. Well, we're saving that money because we can meet those standards, the response standards now, because the preemption system has allowed us that time savings, and it's only getting better as we continue to optimize the system.
That's obviously showing the whole, how this whole lab got built, and then emergency vehicle preemption. And emergency vehicle preemption is, in my mind, the #1 connected vehicle technology to help save lives.
Yeah, I think, the introduction to the next slide, we say, why is it so important? But it's actually, it's critical. And before I worked here, Peter knows, and many of you know, I came from a hospital setting, our local children's hospital. And we all have too many stories, unfortunately, where time, really does matter. So this one is just critical to us. It's one that we want to spend probably the most time talking about. And so Peter, talk to us a little bit about some of the statistics, what we're doing, and how we're doing it.
Thanks. And one of the important things as well, guys, if you guys have got any questions, whatever, type it in the chat boxes and whatever platform you're using, and we'll try to answer those as we're going through, this live stream. So the whole thing with emergency vehicle preemption is to try and make it safer for the vehicles so that when they're responding to a situation, the light is green for them and red for everyone else. Mm-hmm. That allows them to get control of a traffic signal that they can travel through without worrying about stopping, making sure they've got control of the whole signal, looking left, looking right, creeping in, making sure no one's going to run past them. So that really makes it a hell of a lot safer for the vehicles, but also safer for the the passenger vehicles traveling along the roads. Some of the statistics that have been reported here in the city of Alpharetta, they had an older optical solution, and they saw an 18% improvement from the older optical solution to the new connected vehicle GPS-based solution. So they've got massive savings. We've got higher statistics, lower statistics, but it's all around, 10% to 30, 40%, depending on your situations that you have. The other interesting thing is, on average, people are saving about 10 to 12 seconds per traffic signal in terms of savings. Which is pretty amazing. Now, we've got one question. Is the infrastructure needed in both the fire truck and at the intersection? Yes. So what we have is there's a piece of infrastructure in the traffic signal, and then there's a piece of infrastructure in the actual emergency vehicle. What is important to note is the reason for that is that you've got a piece of infrastructure in the vehicle so that you have redundant communication. That allows us to basically provide the emergency vehicle preemption over both cellular as well as radio. And what that allows you to do then is to make sure that no matter what happens, if the cell network goes down, if the radio network goes down, you're guaranteed to have emergency vehicle preemption coming into the traffic signal. There are other systems out there on the market that use just the information coming from the AVL system in the vehicle, but there are too many modes of failure. If the cell network goes down, well, you don't have emergency vehicle preemption. If the if the actual system in the vehicle goes down, you don't have emergency vehicle preemption. If the connection between that central system and the traffic signal controller goes down, you don't have emergency vehicle preemption. If your fiber network goes down, you don't have emergency vehicle preemption. So what we decided was we weren't going to go that route because it just wasn't safe enough. We do that in buses for priority. But when you're talking about emergency vehicle preemption and you want to guarantee a green light, having redundant communication in your intersection is really critical. So, what it also does is increase the driver safety, as I was talking about, bringing all of these other people at an intersection to a stop and making sure that the fire truck has actually got a green light. Very important is this distributed intelligence. All of the intelligence, and the reason why we've got infrastructure in the actual traffic signals is all of those rules is saved per traffic signal. So it's not central system based, it's local in the device there so that all of the intelligence is sitting over there. And we're utilizing that dual mode communication to ensure that you've got a reliable communication system. And that's making it very, very safe for the emergency vehicles. And of course, utilizing dual mode also allows us to do all sorts of other cool things like adaptive signal priority, where we can send that information much further in advance and use some of the new standards like NTCIP 1211, which allows you to send that signal a full cycle in advance and keep traffic signals in coordination. Another question, are any private vehicles equipped with this connection technology? The answer is no. Only emergency vehicles, that's EMS. So there are some private operators that use, that are private ambulances that we do go and put in the technology into them, but we're not doing it on any private vehicles. We'll talk about how travel safely talks to traffic signals, but there's no preemption in that, and how cyclists are talking to intersections, but there's no preemption requests in that. Right. So the next thing that we're moving on to is school zone safety. And Emily, you want to take us through that?
Yeah, I think, improving pedestrian safety in school zones. So this is the second connected vehicle application that we're going to, look further at today. As a mom, as a parent, as many of us are, this is, again, one of those critical areas. I want the confidence that my child is going to be safe, whether it's getting on or off the school bus or, in the school zone, and knowing that drivers are aware that, it is in fact school hours and that my child's going to be protected. So building that confidence, in locals and your citizens that your child's going to be safe is very important. So we've got a couple statistics that we'll share, a slide that will pop up, but, by the numbers, 25,000 children are injured in school zones every year. This is something where we have an application and technology that we can utilize now to decrease these numbers. We know that 2/3 of drivers speed in school zones based on studies that, that are done out there. And again, that's just something that's preventable. So why wouldn't we want to do something about it? Flashing beacons, so having the actual flashing school zones, you can see some examples behind us, are reducing the speeds of drivers up to 5 to 7 miles, which becomes critical in the event that there is an interaction with a child in a car. 82% of drivers identify school zones when flashing beacons are on versus 52% with just a static sign. So it may seem simple, but there's a big difference that, an impact that this can have. Why a smart school system? We've got, you've heard Baton Rouge talk a little bit about it. We'll look at a video with more detail, but providing that remote scheduling from anywhere, your tablet, your phone, the ability to adapt. We all saw how crazy it was during COVID, schools on, schools off, schools delayed, alternating schedules. And the folks who are utilizing this technology were able to quickly adapt, literally at the push of a button on their phone. So just a critical component to a smart school beacon. providing those alerts and alarms. So we saw kind of some examples with the hurricane. Same thing with our school zones. We can provide alerts and alarms when the system's down, when the system's not working. And that's the one thing that we want. I want, as a parent, that confidence that those school beacons are going to be on when they're supposed to be on.
And when there is a failure, you're notifying the city very quickly so they
Correct.
can actually fix it more
Correct.
quickly.
Decreasing calls, and prioritizing where to go and what to actually bring with you, because you're able to get that data from these, smart systems. So it's it's an advanced system. It provides a lot of benefit for locals who are utilizing it. Peter, I think we've got another video that'll talk a little bit more detail about school safety, pedestrian safety, and the different things we're utilizing connected vehicle technology for.
And there's one other thing to add to that, which is, people think, why don't you just leave the school zones on all the time? People become apathetic to that. So if you just leave school zones on over a school holiday period, well, people are like, this is wrong. I don't believe in the system anymore.
Right.
And then they ignore the beacons
Right.
because of that. So it is critically important that you turn beacons on and off at the right time. If there's a snow day, turn it off. Don't leave them running. And that's what the whole, having the remote communication and the connected vehicle beacons really helps these people with, is creating confidence in systems. And I think that's really important. So we'll jump into this video now and show you a little bit more about the school zones.
So that was a look at how we're using preemption connected vehicle technology. Now we're going to look at how we're using that same technology to keep school kids safer.
When COVID happened, school signals and monitoring them became huge, right? In the past, people said, no, my school schedule never changes. All of a sudden, their schedules were changing almost on a daily basis. They were missing most of their staff. And we were able to basically accommodate them by updating schedules, by telling them what was working, by turning their school zones off and on. At the same time, as we came out of COVID, we had just done a large project with driver feedback radars. And what we were seeing is, of course, everybody got back in their car like the day they turned 16. They're all speeding, they're driving like crazy. And we were able to use that with an early adopter customer who did that to say, hey, here's a real problem. Schools reopened and guys are going 50 miles an hour through the 15-mile-an-hour zone. We were really able to, we think, to help them get a handle on that, to understand how bad their problem really was. We're getting to them in advance and making their lives a lot easier and making things a lot safer at the same time, which is ultimately our goal, just keeping everybody safe.
I find that a lot of municipalities will spend several tens of thousands of dollars for these school beacons and put a 20-year-old technology push button dial clock that's in there. And it's 20 years old. It's going to be 40 years old when they need to replace this thing again. So to use technology to make the school beacons work really the way they're intended to. Stop times, the 2-hour delays, the cancellations. I come across too many school districts and townships that flip them on in September, flip them off in June, and that's it. And that's not really how they're designed to work. Now with technology, we can use this right on our phone or our iPad and instantly make those changes to make these beacons work the way that they should work.
You log into Glance and you pick the device that you want to manage. All the programming is there. I literally could change a whole school district worth of start and stop times or days off with about 3 minutes worth of work. It's just an incredible tool.
We're using applied information's technology that they have. We've deployed it on one bus here in the city of Alpharetta, and they're using it to help develop the possibility of notifications to motorists before they might even become in sight contact of a school bus that's loading students. We had the knowledge of how a school bus operated. We knew exactly what needed to transpire, where things needed to be hooked up. So we took our technicians and worked with Applied's technician, and it was a quick install. It didn't take much just to get the pilot underway. It's extremely exciting. The possibilities of what this can do and what it already does, it's mind-boggling sometimes. Anywhere that we can gain and put ourselves out there and help develop what might be coming down the road, I think is a benefit for everyone.
This is really important because for now, the school children are probably one of the worst affected vulnerable road user category, with almost 25,000 injuries and 100 fatalities a year. Audi is committed to using technology to not only protect customers and drivers in our cars in the event of a collision or incidents around the road, but also to avoid these types of incidents altogether. And we do this first through alerts that are visual or audible inside the vehicle so drivers can react to that. But we also think that the same CV2X technology in the future could be used to create automatic maneuvers that the vehicles could take to prevent these types of issues if the driver so chooses or is unable to react. And of course, in the future, we see this as a crucial part of the roadmap towards automated vehicles, which will be able to manage many different types of situations on the road on their own.
To see that was the vision of the IATL in the beginning, was getting these car manufacturers to come in here to take the connected vehicle technology and really go and implement it in the vehicles
do
itself.
something with it.
Yeah. So, and we were so happy that they were going to be doing, they were very interested in the school safety for school children. As Audi, they really wanted to implement that. So, you know, that gave us a bit of an overview of what, you know, we're doing in the school safety side, you know, in terms of, you know, how these car manufacturers are using the information. We've got one or two questions I wanted to just go over. From Chief Musselman, is there a work in progress to try get apparatus devices to activate quicker? We've had to plug all of our trucks shoreline and wire the devices to stay hot all the time. Great question. And there's a big reason for that. You know, the devices generally to connect, you know, when you have like you know, the Garmin GPSs and things like that, it takes quite a long time for them to actually connect to the GPS and also connect to the cell network. So to ensure that we've had a good amount of, you know, that they're on as soon as the emergency lights get switched on, that's why we wire them up to the shoreline or of the power of the vehicle, because it just means that that first traffic signal, you've got it working straight away. And also the technology that we're using assisted GPSs that can track the vehicles indoors, because it's actually using gyroscopes and it's using dead reckoning. So we can track that the vehicle's indoors, even though there's no GPS signal inside. There was one other question. Have you looked at any international applications or aware of other countries, what they're doing along the same lines of connection technology? Absolutely. We'll talk about this in a little bit when we get through to travel safely, but we're part of the 5G Automobile Association, so creating standards not just for the United States, but for, you know, all over the world. So there are some things like school buses that are very particular to United States, but then the same applications of people getting on and off buses is the same around the whole world with buses. So there's a whole huge amount of work happening on the 5GAA. The 5GAA is actually coming live here to Atlanta, to the IATL, to have their annual meeting. So going over to the commercializing of the CV applications, you know, what people are doing is they're leveraging this new technology of CV2X direct radios and network radios that allows them to actually get, you know, these connected vehicle applications working. So what we'll, you know, I've got a little bit of an issue with my iPad disconnecting for some reason, so bear with me as I go through this. So we're leveraging this technology here that allows us to use both network connections as well as direct radio connections. Now, these vehicles are all getting equipped. So China has mandated it. Here, Audi is committed to doing connected vehicles using direct radios. So has Ford, and many others are following suit. The two applications that you saw there, the first one was alerting drivers when they're entering an active school zone. and providing a warning directly in the dashboard of the vehicle that somebody is driving more than 5 miles above the speed limit, so that they can actually get a warning that we're in a school zone and actually we should slow it down. The second one was alerting drivers when there's an approaching school bus that's got its stop bar arm open. So that is a really great one. There's 80,000 stop bar violations every day in the United States. So this is a major issue. The most dangerous time for children is getting on and off the bus. Majority of accidents are children getting on and off the bus. So this is the area that we really need to warn people so that they don't blast straight past that stop sign.
Yeah, I think it's part of that building confidence, that kids are safe that we keep talking about. So it's just key. It's a critical, application that's, on its way to being commercialized, which I think we find, super exciting and obviously very special.
Absolutely. So the next thing that we're going to go over is, one of those things that we did as Applied Information quite some time ago, which was, how do we get this technology into people's hands faster? Eventually, all of the cars are going to have this technology, and that's the right place to have it. But how do we get it into an old pickup truck? How do we get it deployed and tested and verified that things are working? And that's through the radios that everybody has today, which is your smartphones. So Emily's going to talk a little bit about travel safely and how that works into the whole connected vehicle environment.
Yeah, I think one of the earlier questions we had, so our third application of connected vehicles that we're covering is through the smartphone application. And one of the earlier questions with regards to preemption was, is this technology available or utilized in private vehicles? And in a sense, we are connected. We can be connected through the Travel Safely app. So this is communicating directly with our, via cellular, with our intersections, so we can know what the traffic signal is about to do or get an alert or alarm that we're about to run a red light. We can be alerted if you're in a city utilizing the preemption technology, that you have an emergency vehicle approaching you from behind, left, right. So yes, actually, connected vehicle technology is available in private vehicles by utilizing and enabling the app in your smartphone if this technology is available in your city. So we'll look at a video that talks a little bit more detail about it, but it's communicating over existing cellular network. So again, this connected vehicle application, we're utilizing it to improve safety for not just motorists, but bicyclists, pedestrians, other vulnerable road users, and Peter alluded to this, but we're even utilizing it for cyclists to actually put calls in groups to be detected, to get that priority call, through the intersection to get those green lights. So it's pretty amazing what we're able to do just with our phones. We have these radios in our phone right now, so it's something that we're looking to use.
And this is all, there's a lot of places internationally as well that is doing this. The country of the Netherlands has implemented a similar type of system countrywide. And the interesting thing with this is, vulnerable road users such as motorists, cyclists, road workers, the pedestrians, all of those, and visually impaired people. This is a way of getting them connected to the network, with them broadcasting out their positions and also warning people that they're going to be entering an area where there are a lot of children or road workers. So all of this technology is coming out there. There's also a big move, on the connected vehicle technology, doing DMS sign annunciation, roadwork information. So you'll see a bunch of these technologies now in this next video that's going to explain some of them. But pedestrian crosswalks and things like that, it's all becoming more and more active. All of this technology is using the same SAE J2735 standards as well. So the SPAT messaging, BSMs, PSMs, and TIMS messages, we're just sending it over the cell network instead of over a direct radio link. And, people will talk about and go, well, what about latency and so on? The latency over the 4G network is roughly 250 to 300 milliseconds end to end. And we've been deploying it with 5G networks now. And you're looking at about 150 milliseconds. So, the latency side of it, and when I say 150 milliseconds, don't forget SPAT messages only send out every 100 milliseconds. So, you've got a much lower delay. So the technology is starting to pick up and go faster with the cellular. The great thing is when you use CV2X, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, CV2X is both radio, short-range radio, and long-range over the cell network. That's what it's envisioned to do. You get the best of both worlds. You get messages from far out, and you get that high-speed messages close by. So we'll jump into the video on travel safely. And
I think seeing it makes a big difference. We can talk about it all day, but seeing it in action is brings it home. So this same connected vehicle technology is available for vulnerable road users and motorists on the Travel Safely smartphone app. Let's take a look.
Red light.
Travel Safely, the smartphone application, allows a motorist to directly interface with the traffic controller or the cabinet, receive the signal phasing and timing information. They're seeing the indications at the intersection, but sometimes as you're coming up to an intersection, you don't have a great line of sight to the signal indications. So having that supplementary information in your vehicle, warning you if you're about to run through a red light.
Red light.
And I think the applications with pedestrian and cyclist safety is going to be game changing. Getting pedestrians and bicyclists to use the app, getting vehicle drivers to use the app, and then once that is being used, those interactions will become more transparent. So it just gives the driver or the pedestrian or the cyclist just so much more information that they can make good, safe decisions with.
How the Travel Safely smartphone connected vehicle app complements the feature from Tesla that recognizes traffic signals and alerts you when the signal is changed.
Get ready for green.
Travel Safely will also warn you if you are about to run a red light.
Red light. Speeding in school zone. Speeding in school zone.
So here we're coming up to a signal and we're the second in line. Travel Safely still sees the red light, and so does the Tesla indicator here.
Get ready for green.
And because we were the second car back, the Tesla did not alert us with the ding, but Travel Safely did give us the get ready for green notification. We're coming around the corner. Travel Safely sees that the light is red. And when we come into view, the Tesla sees it also.
This is Travel Safely running in the Ford dashboard.
Get ready for green.
There's the Ford speakers, the Ford dashboard telling you to get ready for green.
Red light.
And there's the Ford dashboard telling you that you're about to run a red light. So this is the travel safely in the Ford dashboard in a work zone.
As you can see, we're making connected vehicle technology available today and helping to make a safer commute for all. Thanks for joining us today from the IATL. I'm Emily Stanecki.
And you can see from that, it's not about one technology being the be all and end all. We will be the first ones to tell you that it's always about having multiple levels of technology. You know, on the safety side,
Right.
there's the physical signs and things like that behind you that are providing that safety. Then there's the additional alerts in the vehicles that are going to provide additional safety. And then there's the additional alerts on the smartphones.
Right.
So, you know, this technology, and this is why CV2X is such a great technology, is because it's using both cellular communication as well as you know, the direct radio. So you get the best of both worlds there.
Right.
So that it interacts with cars, interacts with smartphones, so you can provide this collaborative system.
Right. All about layering and creating that ecosystem. You know, all the parts, you know, play their role. So Peter, talk a little bit about, you know, we'll come back to questions, but, you know, CV2X Direct, CV2X, you know, network, and the technical infrastructure. I think, you know, that's key to what we're doing. And as we've mentioned, y'all throw, you know, questions in your chat, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and we'll make sure we come back to answer those. But talk a little bit about, you know, all of the technical side of this.
Perfect. So just to give everyone a bit of an idea. So, you know, when you've got a connected vehicle system at a traffic signal, you've got the traffic cabinet, which has got the traffic signal controller, which is generating all of this information. Then there's the way that we do it, we have a device that's available. The infrastructure is on the pole that's accessible via a ladder so that you can repair it. And then there's a set of antennas. And the antennas, these are broadcasting a 5.9 gigahertz signal. The cabinet at the same time is doing cellular. Now that would be 4G, 5G, 3G. Well, 3G is turned off in the United States, but 4G or 5G communication. And the car over here is going to be receiving that information from the direct antenna. And if it also has a cellular connection in it, it will also receive the information via cellular. That allows that vehicle to receive the information far ahead of the time. You saw how when they were driving in the Tesla and they're coming around a corner, the Tesla couldn't get the information of the traffic signal until it actually had a line of sight. So this is allowing you to get that information when you've got no line of sight, and then when you've got line of sight, it can really provide that additional information.
Right.
And you can think about it for cyclists, in the cyclist application. There can be a cyclist coming down the side of the road that the car doesn't have line of sight with, that he can then receive that information ahead of time that there's a potential collision that could be avoided. Giving a little bit of a look on the architecture side. So, you know, everyone wants to look at, you know, you got your traffic signal, which has got an RSU processor that gets all that information, sends the information over the cell network, and then through to the smartphone applications. At the same time, it sends the information over to the CV2X radios, which then push that information to OBUs in the vehicles. You'll hear this terminology, onboard units, and they'll be sending out what's called a BSM, a basic safety message, as well as a map message and a SPAT message. So the CV2X radios are going to send SPAT and map when it's connected to a traffic signal. When it's a school zone, it will be a map and a TIMS message, traveler information message. And this allows vehicles to receive that information. And this allows, as you can see here, Bluetooth to a smartphone as well, so that you can actually have one smartphone receiving information from both an OBU and the mobile data from the mobile network. I'm going to jump over to the question, Bernard on YouTube. Will Travel Safely be expanding to other parts in Canada as well? And the answer is yes. We started off in United States. We got majority of our deployments in the Southeast, but there's been a huge deployment. States like Maine DOT is making it the standard on every new traffic signal, and similar in Massachusetts, they're also doing a huge amount of work there. We've got some deployments in Quebec. We are in talks with them and implementing the travel safety portion as well. So that's Quebec City that have got about 480 traffic signals roughly, and all the emergency vehicles are connected. The city of Regina is actually implementing travel safely as well. They've got it in for emergency vehicle preemption at the moment, and they're busy implementing it on, I think they've got about 80 intersections, somewhere around there.
Closer to 200.
Oh,
Yep.
closer to
Yep.
200. Okay. So, they're busy implementing it on all of their traffic signals there to get connected vehicle messages working in those cities in Canada.
And a key thing about Travel Safely application is this is a free application. This is not something that's, we charge for. You can go online or on the App Store and download it. And it's going to work where we have the infrastructure deployed. But ultimately, we wanted to provide that safety and communication to all of these other road users. So that's why, we've done it that way. We're not trying to make money off of Travel Safely. This is not something that, a goal that we had there. So,
and it's never a one size fits all.
Right.
There's a lot of research going into this. We've done a lot of research as well with different universities. University of Florida did research on how do humans react in vehicles to these alerts,
and
they
eye
found
tracking, and they had all kinds of crazy things they got to use to study. So,
and the cool thing was they basically came up and said that when somebody gets an audible alert in a vehicle, they generally slow their vehicle down, and their eyes track the roadway for pedestrians and cyclists much, much better. And then for cyclists, it was a 50% higher chance of somebody spotting a cyclist when they had an audible notification in their vehicle. So there's some significant, savings that can be done, and significant number of lives that can be saved here.
Right.
And it's not the be all and end all. I want to be first to say that there's lots of things. Safety is created in layers, physical, and then obviously all of these type of technologies that are really going to be providing those audible notifications. So love to have any more questions. I know we've been asking questions during this. If you guys have any further questions on connected vehicles or the lab behind us, please reach out. And also at the same time, if you want to have a private session here, we can set up a Zoom call and things like that you guys can get a private session here. Or, we've got a lot of consultants that have come here for training on connected vehicles, and also DOTs and cities to come and experience it here, not just the lab, but also outside, driving through, meeting some of the locals here who have been implementing the technology that allows you to really experience this. Because there's one thing about seeing a video, but when you're actually in a vehicle and you're getting green lights everywhere, or you in a school bus and you're seeing this technology firsthand, it really gives that visual aspect and that kind of the feeling behind it as well of that safety. So if there are no questions, wait, there are questions coming in. Awesome. Keep them coming.
Typing. So, have you worked with 2 or more jurisdictions where the 2 decision makers, the question's still coming, need to come to agreement?
That happens all the time. So often there's often there's the fire department and there's a traffic department, or there's the school board and traffic department trying to work together. I think the great thing with the technology behind us is it provides a benefit for both people. And what I mean by that is a fire department would get green lights to the emergency vehicles, and the traffic department gets remote communication and connected vehicles. So there's kind of this win-win situation where the older technology, if you had to put in optical preemption, only one person benefited. The traffic department had to maintain everything, make sure it's all working, but they didn't see any real benefit for themselves.
Right. I think oftentimes our most successful projects and deployments are the ones where we have both at the table and not just one of the departments. So great question, and I think we find it most successful when we do have both groups, parties at the table, progressing these projects forward.
Perfect. Well, we've got 2 minutes to go, so I want to save everyone 2 minutes of their life. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Everyone on LinkedIn, everyone on Facebook, everybody on YouTube, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And please reach out to us. Let us know if there's anything else we can help you with, or provide any of these local sessions here at the IATL. So thanks, Emily, for joining me, and really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.